asserting that these are your arguments.
I'm going to get very worked up about this one.
Hey, I have a list of things that I think atheists should stop saying.
Hey, I have a list of things that I think Christians should stop saying. God is real, because he's not. You should believe in him, because you shouldn't. You should do what I say, because you shouldn't.
You should stop saying unprovable things as fact. There you go.
You know, I just think that you should stop saying that. Alright? You know, as an atheist talking to a theist, I'm sure you'll understand. As a theist talking to an atheist.
Now, I want to hear what you have to say about this. What are your thoughts on this list?
I think it's incredibly condescending and you're a complete asshole.
I also think he doesn't want to hear what you have to say.
No.
He wants to hear what his fan base has to say. And people who aren't very good at articulating an argument have to say, so we can go, look, this argument's terrible.
Well, I bet he found it. I bet people of his ilk would find it very condescending of what I just said of, hey, you should just stop saying that God's real because I'm an atheist saying that you should stop saying your theist things. Just like I find it very condescending that a theist like you will tell an atheist like me not to say things because you don't like to hear them. Well, boo-hoo, don't give a shit.
Yeah, stop saying these things that upset my feelings.
Yeah, like why the fuck should we care about your feelings? Last time you guys had supreme power, you didn't give a shit about our feelings. You stoned us to death, tortured us, put us in prison. Like, go fuck yourself.
Do you believe the wrong things or nothing at all?
Shit.
Yeah, burn.
So after we get done, make sure that you put those in the comments section or make your own YouTube video in response and let me know about it here. Now, I'm pretty confident that I'm right about these 6 items.
Of course you are. Of course you're confident. Otherwise you wouldn't have made the video.
I'm confident, I'm correct, but they are your opinions. You wouldn't hold them if you weren't confident in them. Otherwise they wouldn't be your opinions, they'd be your thoughts on something that you haven't quite made an opinion of because you don't know enough. You're confident in it because it's your opinion.
Obviously. So I want to lay my cards out on the table. These aren't insincere questions. These aren't questions at all. These are things that I'm saying I think atheists should stop saying. Oh, and I just want to say that I have wonderful conversations with atheists every day online.
And I'm just saying that I don't hate black people. I've got a black friend. Like, whatever. Like...
Yeah, yeah. I'm not this bad thing because I've got this thing in my life.
Yeah. I don't hate the blacks. I have a black friend. His name is Jamal. Like, whatever.
I mean, the context of this video, so I'm not a racist, but seems to fit.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you how to speak, and I'm telling you how you should say your things. And I'm not being insincere, because I talk to atheists all the time.
I bet he loves free speech.
No.
And many of those kinds of people are not guilty of the things listed here. I'm just giving this list to help you out. And if you say, well, I do say some of those things on the list, and you become convinced that you should stop, don't worry about it. I went through a similar process myself when I started making videos on the internet. But I want to add some helpful comments here by listing for you the things that I think internet atheists should stop saying.
Well, that's a good thing that he's come to rescue us from the certain oblivion of the things that we say. It's good that he's definitely had those introspective moments of self that he's given lots of examples of, because he wouldn't want to give bad examples of ways that you used to thought at all, especially when you're telling other people that they have bad thoughts and bad things to say. You wouldn't want to put across that you've experienced some things in some kind of meaningful way, showing that you're trying to have a meaningful conversation as in, well, I thought this, and this really isn't the thing that I should have said because of this. And then you thus, it's like when you start therapy and your therapist is supposed to tell you about their problems first to open up a level of trust. But he just wants to come and tell us exactly what to say because he knows best. He knows how we think. He knows, well, all this shit. He knows us better than we know ourselves. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, oh wise leader, could you please tell us, graciously of course, what our wise leader thinks we should say?
Number 1, you're just in it for the money. The idea here is that our primary motivation as Christian YouTubers is to make money.
It's not part of it though, is it?
I mean, it's true of some. Some people are just in it for the money.
No, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is what we're all just on these channels just doing it for the love of the game, is it? If people give you money, you turn it down. You say no. You say no, and they send you money on PayPal. You send it back, saying no. I'm doing it for the love of the game, goddammit.
I'm going to give all this money to the poor because that's what a good Christian would do.
Yeah, that's what Jesus said.
Yes. I'm not doing it to further decorate my lavish apartment.
Yeah, so if you want to say, oh, it's a bad thing when people say they're just in it for the money, I'm going to point you to Kenneth Copeland, Ken Hovind, Eric Hovind, you know, like Joel Osteen. Like, there's a lot of names of people that definitely do it for the money. And, you know, I don't know about this guy in particular because I've only watched a few of his videos. You know, he's definitely not selling a Patreon, is he? Or I don't know. I literally don't know. I haven't looked it up. Like, does he not have merch? Is there not, you know, things like that? Does he not have seminars? I literally don't know.
Can I have a quick glance at his YouTube?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say that you personally aren't in it just for the money, that's fair enough, right? And, you know, that can be a completely believable thing. But to just say that we should never say it in itself is highly disingenuous, because if you're going to tell me that people like Joel Osteen aren't just in it for the money, then I'm going to say you've broken one of the 10 Commandments, my friend, because you're committing a lie. You're bearing false witness. Like, and if we can point to a few people that do it, that means that some of you do it. So saying that we should never say it means that we shouldn't call out the people that are doing that, aren't in it.
Well, so far we got 3 links. One of them, the last one, I'll go first, is Patreon.
So he does have a Patreon, so you definitely want to accept money.
The other one is Learn Formally, trinitysem.edu.
Oh, so you have some educational seminars that you like to charge people for to get the secret personal information that is really being the good glory of God, and the good glory of God needs to be spread as divine light to everyone to fill our hearts and to make them whole, to fill the bits in our soul that aren't there because we're dirty atheists, right? That sort of information really needs to be hid behind a paywall, doesn't it?
Yeah, the other one was trinityradio.org for learning casually.
All right, so at least you got the free version and then you got the paid version. Well, at least he's got both.
And maybe that free version could come with adverts, possibly. I'm not going to say it does. I've never been on it, but it possibly
it's
could.
Definitely
Yeah.
only for the love of the game.
Now, it can't be the softer claim that it's a part of what we're doing is to try and make money, because many Christian YouTubers would happily admit that.
All right, fair enough.
And after all, a part of what many atheist YouTubers are doing is make money. But no. It's that harsher claim. The idea that the primary reason we're doing what we're doing is to make money off of other people.
Some of you are. It's just the truth of the thing. You know, tell me that guy that says that, was it David Wood Apologetics, I think it is, that says that he was a sociopath. Right? And that he found the glory of God, so he's not a sociopath anymore. Yeah, he's not grifting at all, because sociopathy isn't curable. And if it was, he'd be saying it was a miracle and presenting himself to medical boards to prove his point.
Please scan my brain.
A miracle. But he's not. He's raking in those cash ducats for getting paid to go in debates and doing all this shit and everything. So whatever. And there's plenty of you that do it just for the money. And there's plenty of atheists that just do it for the money. So what?
Yeah, there's several people that flip-flop between sides occasionally for money.
So he himself just said, well, there's atheists that do it for the money. Well, then you shouldn't say that atheists just do it for the money either.
Yeah, that's not fair to say. I mean, there's a lot of atheists that do it because they're pissed off and they want a voice because you're lying to people.
Hold up. That doesn't match the facts. Mike Winger, for example, started putting videos online, I think, because he wanted a place to post his sermons. John McRae and Cameron Bertuzzi both have unbelievers in their families, and so they probably got into apologetics and started doing YouTube apologetics for that reason.
There's that word, probably.
Also, like, why don't you not have a Patreon then? If it's not about the money, don't have a Patreon. Don't have educational courses that you charge people money for. Don't have merch stores. Like, just spread the good word. Like, you know, like Jesus did. Give up all your possessions. Don't be held by its earthly delights. And just be a prophet and spread the word of God.
To live the defense.
Just do that. Because if that's all that matters, right? And you got such a bug up your ass about that, then just do that. Like, whatever. If there's any fraction of you that do it all for the money, you can't get pissed off that some of us say that you do it for the money. Especially when you peddle bad arguments with bad excuses and then put them off as ultimate proofs when they're easily debunkable, and you know they're easily debunkable because you want to go back and forth and make a little money off making those videos going back and forth, don't you? You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah. I had a point to say and it's completely gone out of my mind then. Oh, right. Is it a Christian thing to do? You're peddling your religion and you're using it to make a quick buck on the side?
Yeah, because that's what Jesus did.
Yeah, yeah. I remember going in specifically paying his taxes. Yeah.
And love talking about apologetics and reaching other people with the gospel message, and saw YouTube as an opportunity to do that. In other words, we were all doing it before it made us any money, and we'd all still be doing it if it stopped making us money tomorrow. And
a lot of
would you though? If something you're doing right now is providing you a well enough living that you can do this on its own, would you still be doing it if it stopped making you money all of a sudden? No. I don't think it would.
Have to get a job. That takes away your time.
Like, you telling me that when you started to do the channel, that the idea that you could eventually make money off it wasn't part of the driving goal that kept you going through the times when nobody was watching?
Yeah, see, a lot of YouTubers start out not making money because they don't have a following, they don't have fans, and then they develop a fan base, and then they get a lot of followers, and people give them money. It's funny that you start out with nothing.
Yeah, and if you want to put it across that doing that is not doing it for the money, even though part of the reason that you continue doing it is that you could eventually make money, it's highly disingenuous.
Yeah.
It's along these same lines of criticism that the claims of dishonesty will come. And when pressed on this one, some atheists have said, well, it's not that you don't believe what you're saying, it's just that what you're saying is false and you're spreading that. So it's dishonest. But that's a bit like watching a kid do a math problem wrong and then angrily telling him what a dishonest charlatan you've turned out to be.
No one isn't.
Not in the slightest. They're learning how to do it.
I'm sorry, were they making money? Were they making money off doing that bad math problem?
Have you ever watched the Twitch streamers that just sit there doing maths problems? Like, 12, 13-year-olds, they're just into high school, they're just learning more advanced mathematics.
Yeah, were they telling people they were 100% right while they were doing that bad math problem? Charging people to do education courses, and by the way, I have a Patreon where I do extra secret videos that only you worthy people get to see because you pay the extra money to get the secret knowledge. Is that what the person doing the bad mathematics is doing? I don't think it is, because that's not what you said.
6 times 6 is 50, and if you disagree, burn. By the way, give me money, and the gays are bad.
6 times 2 is 36, and don't forget to smash that like button.
No, but
fuck off.
6 squared. 3.
The fact that people see, I feel he's probably been caught had this said to him, and it's got his hackles up. But if you look at people like Kent Hovind and Eric Hovind, right, that sell natural herbal remedies sent by God that contain, was it peach pits?
Yeah.
Or nectarine pits? Not nectarine pits.
It was peach pits. I'm sure.
Was it because they kill you? And it was a grift.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to tell me, right, that people like Kenneth Copeland, who say things like, I need all of my loving and loyal God-fearing supporters to send me money so I can get a private jet, so I can go up into the sky and be closer to God.
And I can talk to God.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't have done that on an airliner.
No, sir. No way.
Stand up and say, what'd you say, Lord?
No.
Okay, no, yeah. And the guy sitting over there saying, what the hell does he think he's doing? You can't do that.
You can't do that.
No. This is so important. And those of you that are just now coming into these things, in the first place, Jesse and I and others, Keith Moore and Creflo and all of us, the world is in such a shape, we can't get there without this.
That's right.
We've got to have this. We would have, the mess that the airlines are in today, I would have to stop. I'm being very conservative. At least 75 to 80, more like 90% of what we're doing, because you can't get there from here.
lies, lies, and more lies, and lies on top of lies.
You can't manage that today.
Right.
This dope-filled world.
Right.
Meanwhile, at the
Dope-filled world.
Let all debts be forgiven and all slaves free. Mwah.
And kids, I don't know what time it is there, but right here, it's 4:20. 4:20. 4:20. 4:20.
And get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right.
And he works on you hard. It really does.
So anyway, I wanted to make that clear so the devil can't lie to you and say, see there, them preachers spending all that money, just fat cats riding around. No, we're not. We're in business to do. You can't stay here.
Yeah.
You got to do this or you're going to do this.
He said this, you're on cruise control. You're moving, but no longer by your power. See?
That's what the DVD is about.
That's what that DVD is about.
Yeah.
He said,
That kind of fucker isn't a grifter, right? If you're going to tell me that Dan Baker selling fucking apocalypse fucking ready buckets of food, right, to fucking idiots going, oh, the rapture's coming, I need loads of food, even though the people he's selling to think they're going up in the rapture so they don't need buckets of food, isn't a fucking grift.
Dear God. Okay, the soup comes in 6 gallons of this. It weighs almost 50 pounds. I know you don't want to hear this, but I want to tell you, you're going to dream Jim Baker on TV telling you, get ready. And you say, oh my God, why didn't I order something? I'm going to eat some more of this if you're not careful. Oh. Oh, good. Oh my God. You didn't have lunch, right?
Wow.
I love summertime. I've got burgers made of beans, they're never fried. Saba chips and salsa to keep me warm way deep inside. Oh yeah, I guess you'd say, Jim and Lori, help me be prepared today for end times. I'm talking about end times. Oh, I've got powdered food for a stormy day. Beets and spinach and blueberry and strawberries. Filtered water from Seychelles to take the poisons away. I like that too much. I guess you'd say, Jim and Lori, help me be prepared today for end times.
If you're going to tell me that a bunch of people like yourself are going to go, hey, I need to tell you all this information, but by the way, the really good information, the long form, really good information is behind this paywall, and you expect me to not see that as a grift. Because it's not like you have deep insights that other people don't. You know what I mean? It's not like you're trained in this grand art of theology that no one else could possibly be trained in unless they pay for some sort of information. You know what I mean? You're not a lecturing professor going, right, maybe you can't come to my university to see my lecture series, but I'll sell it to you. Right? You just some fucking dickhead on the internet that's going, I'm no better than everyone, so I've made an educational course. Like, come on, really?
People are telling me that I'm a bad person, so I'm telling them they can't say it.
I'm going to justify that hypocrisy by going, hey, I'm just in it for the love of the game, but by the way, I have a Patreon. Like, if you're going to justify that by going, that's like telling the person who's doing a math problem they're doing it wrong. You may like, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to the extreme.
He didn't even say that the person doing the math was charging people money for stuff or getting paid by anything. Like, if you're gonna, like, he took his glasses off for everything and had a different camera. angle type cut for it. It's like he thought this was a really good point, and it's like he's not even made the situation analogous to it whatsoever.
Look, the bottom line is the worst way to improve dialogue is to make sure that your conversation partner knows from the beginning that you think she's a money-hungry liar.
I really don't care. You're a money-hungry liar.
Well, he's lying, and he's requesting money, because he's put the link out there to give him money, which I'm now going to click.
I don't... See, the thing is I don't give a shit whether you think I'm being respectful or not, right? I don't care. If I think you're a grifter, I'm going to call you a fucking grifter, and I don't give a shit whether you like it or not. That's like going, hey, I know he's a pedophile, but I don't want to call him a pedophile because he'll be angry that I called him a pedophile. Like, that's so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just had to double check on his. I followed the link to the Patreon. So lowest one, £5 a month. The next one you might like, £9.50 a month, £19 a month, 47.
For what though? For what was he given? What is he given? Hey Braxton, you can see this is an unofficial endorsement of your Patreon, you cunt.
Okay, so creating podcasts, Bible studies, and educational material. The first one.
For £5, what do you get?
You are a very important part of what we do. £9.50.
Whoa, is that it? There's no benefits.
That's it.
Wow.
£9.50. You clearly take podcasting seriously and are impacting the world for the kingdom as Doctors Hunter and Pritchett evangelise those of other worldviews.
So you don't get anything for it?
No. £19 a month. As a member of the Trinitarian Air Support Team, you are allowing us to make changes in how we do podcasting so that this ministry becomes bigger and better. £47 a month. You are allowing us to do things we never thought we could. You're blowing Prime's mind. And £94 a month. We have no words. That is it, right? 111 Patreons.
Right, I have to look at this before I condemn it, because I have to make sure you're not being any...
Yeah, I'm not... Unless you have to click each one, but it should have the description underneath without going on each one.
You have a Patreon there for people to voluntarily give you money. Unlike, unless I'm being extremely dense, or like, because we're looking at this on a phone, right? If you can see that. There's no thing saying there's any benefits for any of these. Let's go to a different Patreon, right? Let's just go to a different Patreon.
I'll have to go on to it.
Go on to the Stand Time podcast. I know they have Patreon. £5 a month. Have your comments and posts rested on the show. Polls and voting, behind the scenes updates. £9 a month. Invite to the Start Tank. Things because I'm great pain. Yeah.
So all the benefits are listed.
Yeah. So the benefits are listed. So unless I'm extremely wrong, and if I'm extremely wrong, I'm willing to admit that I'm extremely wrong. But from the view of your Patreon, you're asking a bunch of money tiers for nothing in return. They don't even get like extra videos or like, wow.
As far as I can see, I'm going to click on one of the levels and see if it has anything written on. So I'll just click join at £19 a month. Let's just have a look at £19 a month, right? You're required to sign in.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm not bothered about that, but it should be listed where the prices are. And it's not. There's nothing. You get early access to something.
And you want to bitch about, what do you do for the money? Where's your patron's benefits, dickhead? Like, seriously, you got a Patreon, you don't give them benefits? What, early access to videos, is that it? Like, what, so somebody gives you nearly £100 a month and you only get early access to videos? Mm-hmm. Like, is that... I don't know, because it's not. That doesn't even say that in the thing. It makes me think I'm wrong here. You know what I mean? But to all intent, from without, I'd have to have a more extensive view. But yeah.
Number 2, I used to be a Christian.
Doesn't like losing members of the flock.
Doesn't like it when they speak up to try and convince
others. I was leading up to that.
Well, oops.
Oh. Pause and read this. Well, I guess I'm pausing and reading this. Yes, I phrased this incorrectly. Of course, there is no reason you shouldn't tell people you are a Christian. The point I meant to convey is that atheists should stop using this to indicate that they understand why Christians think and act as they do, or as some indication of an atheist level of knowledge about worldview issues. This is also true of those who were training to become ministers, or even were ministers. Not Matt Dillahunty at all. So, this isn't really something that you should stop saying. It's more to do with something one should stop doing. It's also true of points 6, 4, and 6. So let's let him say a bit before I fucking tear him a new one.
The fact that you used to be a Christian literally tells me almost nothing about the depth of your knowledge of or devotion to the Christian faith.
You being a Christian tells me nothing about your devotion and knowledge to the Christian faith.
I mean, the last question with the money thing, that kind of does give me an inkling. It gives me a nice hint.
I don't know. I'm still... I want to condemn him for that. But there seems to be some... maybe I don't know. But it seems like he's a dick. But we're on the next point now, right? So, you saying you were a Christian doesn't give me any indication of the depth of knowledge and conviction of you being a Christian. Yes, so what? You're making Christian videos now doesn't tell me how much of a Christian you are. Like, but you're going to tell me you're the best Christian, aren't you? And that you know stuff, and that we should listen to you. So you're being very absolute. Mm-hmm. So how about you take your condescending ass, you fuck off. Because I was a Christian, and I was a Baptist, and I still know shit tons more about the religious side than you do. I was going to say the opposite about atheists soon. So whatever.
It tells me that you probably have some vague understanding, at least, of the principles related to...
You weren't a true Christian! You didn't understand the real tenets of the religion! You know what I mean? Like, maybe I was a Christian for 13 years. And during those years, I saw exactly what the denomination of Christianity was like where I lived. So... that does provide me with evidence of Christian thought on the general, because I was immersed in Sunday school and fucking prayer meetings and Bible study and fucking religious people that would sit around all the time talking about religious things. And if you deviated from that thought, that you were ostracized. So if I am supposed to take your personal religious experiences on face value and see that as evidence for God, then you should look at my past experience of being a Christian at face value, as in, I have some inkling of what Christians think. It's called respect. And reciprocity. So stop being an asshole. Stop telling me that I don't know jack shit about Christianity because I'm not a Christian anymore. Because that's what it means. Because I'm not a Christian anymore. Oh, I didn't really know what it meant to be a true Christian. Because if you know what it meant to be a true Christian, you'd still be one.
This is another one.
Funny, condescending piece of shit.
Another one of those, go away and stop saying things, please.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity. The fact that you tell me that you used to be a Christian doesn't tell me how interested you were in your faith or how devoted to it you were. You may have been very devoted, but even if you were, it doesn't mean that you are aware of the best reasons to believe that Christianity is true.
Oh my God, that fucking head wobble as he's talking pissed me off then.
Doesn't mean you know anything, because I know better. I've got a head wiggle. I'm condescending. I can tell you what to say.
You could have been the most devoted. It doesn't matter. You don't know anything now.
And just because you make YouTube videos saying how good God is, doesn't mean that I have to believe that you believe any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does this get us?
It gets us into the, well, we don't know for a fact.
No. Where it gets us is us at a disadvantage, because they can talk about personal experience and we can't.
Yeah, let's just take the soapbox away from you.
Yeah.
There we are. Right, I'm going to say all these things now and you're going to stay silent.
My personal experience means more than yours. Because I'm still a believer. Sorry, that head wiggle really pissed me off.
Yeah, it got me as well. Slowly into the
Yeah.
camera, like,
But that's what he wants, though. That's what he wants. He wants you to get infuriated by that shit. That's why he's being smug as fuck. That's why he's giving you the head wobble. That's why he's giving you all the attitude, talking through the nose.
Now, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct,
Yeah,
but I know you're 100%
Look
wrong.
at his face. Look at his face. He's literally asking for you to punch him in the face right now, right?
Yeah.
That's the face that people give you when they go, oh, go on, hit me then.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to make you angry.
It's working.
Mission success. Was successful. Well done. But you're a piece of shit. And just because I'm angry because you're doing this shit doesn't make you less of a piece of shit.
You haven't proved a point. You've just been annoying.
Yeah. I just want to take away things that you can say. I'm going to tell you what you can say because I know better. I'm a Christian.
Well, if you take out this way of thinking, well, if you take out this conversation, let's take away anything that you have to argue against. Just sit there like a rock.
Yeah.
That's what atheists should be, just rocks. Nice, quiet, well-behaved rocks.
Yeah, you just sit over there and you don't discuss what you like. Like, it was that last video, that 10 questions video you did. You know, if you take your scientific thought out of it.
Yeah.
if we take away your need for evidence.
If we take away the scientific method, what have you got, really?
This guy is such a disingenuous piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Moreover, I've never ever been an atheist, and I'm completely aware this is going to sound smug, even though I don't mean it that way. But the reality is, I think I understand the arguments for and defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know.
Wow.
Words?
Wow.
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 I don't mean to sound smug or nothing, but I know your opinion's better than you do. Well, I don't mean to sound smug or nothing, but I know your Bible better than you do. So, if you ever want to talk about the bad things in the Bible and the things that are factually untrue in the Bible, hey, I'd have that conversation any day. And I don't need to go, shake my head at you all you want. I'm full of sense. I don't need to do all those things.
Good. Thank you very much. I need to make a smoke. Thank you. It's empty. Right. I only put a little bit in that one. Oh my god. I don't mean to sound smug. I know that I am sounding smug because I am smug. But I don't mean
I'm going to make a prediction. That he's going to prove that statement wrong several times in this video.
He himself will undermine his own argument.
I'm just so good and so pure in my Christianity, I can steel man your arguments better than anyone else could, baby.
I do mean to sound smug. This guy's a fucking idiot.
Oh, he's such an asshole. Mate, he's such an asshole.
Oh,
but that's the
there's
thing.
no words.
It's one of the
right
things
now.
that makes it so hard to have a decent conversation with Christians.
Yeah.
Because they're smug assholes for the most part, right? Now, as individual Christians, then I have had the best talks with, right? Because when they're not a smug asshole, right? And they're not trying to convince you, it's a really good conversation. Really good conversation. Because you know you ain't converting them, and they know they ain't converting you, right? And you're just talking about differences. And it's a fantastic conversation.
See, I've had one of them conversations. It wasn't with a Christian. It was talking about politics, particularly. And I'll bite my tongue. He's saying some silly things right now. I'll bite my tongue. Let's just talk about some of the differences between parties instead. You know, and I've kept it civil. And so you can have an opposing viewpoint and remain civil. But if you had to have a conversation with him, I don't think it'd be possible to not be angry with him.
Oh no, if I was talking to him, I'd find it very easy to not be angry with him. Because I'd be condescending as fuck. Because he's condescending as fuck.
In the end, it doesn't matter whether you used to be an atheist or a Christian or whatever. In the end, what matters is can you overcome the arguments in favor of the opposition?
If it did, you guys would have been dead decades ago. The world was created in 7 days by a god who he separated the waters from the waters and did that with a firmament to create the land. And and he called that the first day. Well, we know that the first day didn't happen that way because we can see it in telescopes. Like, you guys don't care about proof. You care about what proves what your bullshit, and nothing else matters. It doesn't matter that we can prove the events around Jesus' birth didn't happen. Like, whatever. You guys don't care. It doesn't matter that we can prove that the Virgin Mary comes from a mistranslation between, was it Coptic and Aramaic, or is it Hebrew and Aramaic, or is it Aramaic and Latin?
Aramaic and Latin, I think. I remember you saying this last week.
Like, we can prove that by going, look at these older manuscripts that don't say this, and then look at these older ones from a different language that do. And if we look at the words, they're easily mistaked when you're writing the same thing over and over again. Like, we know that scribes changed the Bible. We know for a fact that happened. So we know for a fact that bits like the last 11 verses of Mark were added in centuries later. So if we can tell these about assorted various bits, right? Whatever. And like, the fact that somebody used to be a Christian is important. It is. The fact, like, if you're an atheist like me, right, and you used to be a Christian, then the fact that you used to be a Christian is important, because it's about pointing out, right, the things that you overcame and the reasons why your mind changed. And it's the same for these fucking assholes when, like, hey, we've got an ex-atheist professor that turned into a theist. Let's ask him all the questions about why he changed. Why did you change, Professor? You're an authoritative figure. Why did you change? Why did you change from an atheist to a theist? It's very important when they change the other way. You just don't want to hear it this way because you don't want atheists telling theists the reasons they deconverted. Because the reasons that atheists deconvert are usually the main reasons that people deconvert, right? And it feeds, and people talking about when they were a Christian and how they thought this and how they overcome it provide doubt to people that believe in the shit that you believe. And you don't want us to say that anymore because you don't want us spreading that doubt. Because the fact that we can say we don't know annoys you. The fact that we can say our evidence shows that you're wrong, but it doesn't mean that we know everything, annoys the fuck out of you. And you don't want to invite us. You don't want us to invite other people to think similarly to us. So we best shut up about it, shouldn't we? We should just keep our fucking mouths shut that we used to be Christians and just not talk about it anymore. Because, of course, we shouldn't talk about it anymore, but this cunt here will talk about how he knows our minds better than fucking us. In the same fucking breath after he wants to go, I'm all, I know it's a jump cut and everything, but he edited that together in such a way, right? He had to watch that and go, and I thought it was good.
Yeah, he's done it on purpose. There's no like live streaming, and it was just an accidental body language. It was.
You can't say you were a Christian, you know us, but I would never been an atheist, and I can say I know you better than you. I'm not being smug.
Sassy son of a bitch.
Some of the most important breakthroughs in my Christian life have happened just in the past couple of years, and I'm probably older than you are. So, ease up there, Ace.
Now there's an assumption.
I'm probably older than you are. So, I've lived a long time, and I've only learned a few things in the last few years that make me more affirmed. Well, what if we learned things in the last few years that makes us more unaffirmed? But that doesn't matter, does it? Because it's not affirming your worldview. So we best shut up about it, shouldn't we?
I know when people say, I'm older than you, so I know better. I've got more life experience. I've got more wisdom. Wisdom comes with age, obviously. Like, yeah.
Fucking condescending asshole.
Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
Yes, they are, aren't they?
Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
Moreover, I've never ever been an atheist, and I'm completely aware this is going to sound smug, even though I don't mean it that way. But the reality is, I think I understand the arguments for and defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know. Ease up there, Ace. Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert. 3, Christian.
I know your arguments better than you do. Everyone's tempted to be an expert. I know your arguments better than you do. Everyone's tempted to be an expert. I know your arguments better than you do. Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
But the reality is, I think I understand the arguments for and defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know. Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
It's almost like he thinks he's an expert on atheist views.
Like, how can you say that shit in one run-on sentence, right? And, like, be smug about it?
In one breath. Like, he says one thing and then the next one, it's like...
How? How can you say all that stuff together and edit it together in one run-off sentence and not go, I'm showing a mighty large amount of hypocrisy right now. I know I arguments better than you do.
Everyone's tempted to be an expert. Oh my god, shut the fuck up. You know what? Things I wish Christians wouldn't say. This.
I know your argument's better than you do. Everyone's tempted to be an expert.
It's not that I don't wish them to say
like,
this because it's an
this
argument.
This is why we think you're a disingenuous prick. Because you're a disingenuous prick. How do you not see the hypocrisy in those two sentences being even vaguely near each other?
It is a very Christian skill to overlook one's own hypocrisy, though. It's a very human thing.
It's not cognitive dissonance. God works in mysterious ways. I know your argument's better than you do. Everybody thinks they're an expert.
So we know
the reality
the argument's better than I do.
think I
if you can tell me
understand
why
the
I'm
arguments
not a
for and
Christian.
defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know.
Wasn't the reason.
Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
That's what he'll say.
Yeah, but he knows your argument's better than you do.
Ah, so no matter what I say, he can
knows
tell me
better.
what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
because he knows best. He knows best.
Yeah.
He said it. He said it not to brag. But he knows
Humble
best.
brag.
No, not to brag, but he knows best.
Yeah.
Christianity is false because of the Old Testament. Many atheists will say that they simply lack a belief when it comes to the idea of some God out there somewhere. But when it comes to the Christian God specifically, they actively disbelieve. That is, they believe that that God does not exist.
Yeah, because it's really easy not to. Your Bible acts as, you treat it as a historical document, and many of the events in the Bible are not historically accurate in the slightest. There is no evidence of the Exodus whatsoever. None. And we know about individual slaves that tried to escape. We know about individual love letters and love stories because they wrote them in clay tablets and they survived really well.
I need to angrily eat a sandwich.
NANI?
The Old Testament just shows how stupid you all are.
Yes. And it also, you know...
And I'm going to speak for me personally. My disbelief in the Bible comes from the inaccuracies of the Bible in its entirety to what happened in real life. There was no census before Jesus was born. Well, after Jesus was born, right? Herod didn't kill all the young. We know these things because of historical records. We know them to be not true. So fuck off. We know that the Exodus didn't happen. We know there was no parting of the Red Sea because no pharaoh drowned in such a spectacular way. Do you know how we know this? Because it would be written on fucking stela. It would be written that this emperor drowned when a sea collapsed in on him. When they say, there's like 600,000 male Jews that left Egypt. Well, that doesn't include the females and the children, does it? So actually, it's probably closer to over 1 million.
If you say it was an equal amount of women, yeah.
That wasn't the population of Egypt at the time because there wasn't that many people anywhere. It's almost like they made the number up to sound grand. Like,
pressed on this, they'll usually say something like that it's because God is supposed to be a good God, a moral God, a God of love, the ground of all goodness. And yet we have things in the Bible like Old Testament slavery and genocide and a number of different things from the Old or New Testaments of the Bible.
Just love look that quickly.
Yeah, but he said, I don't want you to say that Christianity's debunked by the Old Testament. And then he goes, yeah, I know these things are in the Old and New Testament.
Just gloss over, I said new.
Just very quickly, let's go
Yeah.
over.
So let's just gloss over the moral inconsistencies in an all moral, all just, all loving God that exists forever. And that is unknowing and unknowable. Sorry, is unknowable. So, like, it's just a giant set of contradictions. And you guys are just like, that's fine, don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. You know, it's figurative when we want it to be. When it's inconvenient to our worldview, it's figurative. And when it's very convenient to the worldview, that's 100% what happened. And I don't get why you wouldn't believe the Bible. You believe other historical texts. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like, the Iliad says many things. Most of them didn't happen. It's an ancient text. The Epic of Gilgamesh is supposed to be a historical record of the creation myth and stuff like that from Mesopotamia. Doesn't mean it happened. Like, fuck off.
My book's old, though. Yeah, but there's older books. They're also wrong.
But I think the tendency to move all the way to the Christian God does not exist on the basis of these passages is indicative of a tendency to jump over a lot of intellectual terrain. And I think...
You're jumping over a lot of intellectual terrain, like name something. Please, go on, name something. You lean in. Name something of value. Name something of worth that isn't just bullshit.
This happens in a lot of deconversions, too. What I mean is this argument kind of reduces to if the Bible isn't inerrant, then the Christian God doesn't exist.
Right, but if the Bible isn't inerrant and the Christian God doesn't exist, you say that it's in the inerrant, divinely inspired Word of God. So that means it's the inerrant, divinely inspired Word of God. And if it's not, you're blowing it out your ass. Either that is God's one true revelation of how things happened and how he did things, or it isn't. It isn't both. And if it is both, you have to have real good reasons about why the bits that aren't. Like the Pauline letters, for instance. Like, there's 13 letters from Paul that are in the New Testament, and only 7 of them, even by biblical Christian and Jewish scholars, say that they're real. Because of when you look at the actual writing, right, and the words used, and the sentiment put together, they're not the same as others. There's certain phrases, there's certain events that are only mentioned well after he was alive, so we can tell that he didn't write them because he wouldn't be writing about them. Paul didn't make prophecies. He didn't make predictions. He wasn't a seer. Paul was writing in response to problems that were in various churches that were forming around various places. That's why his books are called Romans, Galatians, Thessalonians, and stuff like that. He was writing to a church in a particular place about a particular set of problems they had, and he was writing what he thought the Christian response should be. Right? And we know that most of those aren't his. Not most. Just under half of those aren't his. We know they aren't his. We know that Mark was written 30 to 40 years after Jesus' death, and then Matthew was a little bit after that, and then Luke was a little bit after that, and then and John could be as much as 100 years. Nearly 100 years after that. Right? So none of them are historical documents. Because the thing that really disproves you the most, and it really does, is there's a reason that it was about 30 to 40 years before they started writing Gospels. Jesus said very clearly in all the Gospels and the tales that were going around before him that the coming kingdom of God will happen before the end of this generation. So people thought the world was coming then, so they didn't want to have kids. It's where the not liking fucking things comes from in Christianity, right? It's because they thought they were all going to die, so it would be immoral to have kids. And if you're all going to die, like in the next 10 to 20 years, why are you going to write it down? Just tell people. Doesn't matter. You don't need to keep records. And then when it became apparent that wasn't going to happen, Well, guess what they started doing? They started compiling all the oral stories that have been told as people tried to one-up things. So you have no eyewitness accounts. You have none. Even Paul, who says that he saw the risen Jesus, says in your book that you purport to be true that he thought it was an apparition and not the real Jesus. That he didn't see the risen body of Jesus. He saw an apparition because it was a vision as he was blinded coming back from Damascus. It's not my fault that you don't understand your own books well enough to show why they're bullshit.
This is just how it works logically. The Christian God could still exist even if it turned out that the Bible was not without error and that some of those things God didn't say or command. I maintain...
No. It means that the God you believe isn't necessarily true because you don't know which bits of that holy book that you claim is 100% correct or whatever, right? Or even mostly correct, right? You don't know which bits those are. And if you don't know which bits those are, you don't know the true mind of God, and you don't know if your idea of God is right, or if it's some bullshit that someone like Tertullian made up, or Polycarp, or early Christian thinkers you've probably never fucking heard of, and whether those ideas of Christianity have come from them and not the actual word of Jesus. So even if Jesus really was the Son of God, you have no idea of what he actually said, and you have no idea if those 4 books of the Bible were correct, or if the Gospel of Judas was correct, or the Gospel of Jesus, or Mary Magdalene, or Peter, or any of the other Gospels that weren't included in the Bible, because people like Tertullian and Origen and Polycarp and fucking... Oh, I keep on forgetting the guy's name. He wrote a bunch of fucking treatises when he was being when he was on his way to being martyred, and like basically helped form the Orthodox Church. Fuck, I always forget his fucking name. You don't know if those thoughts came across because Jesus said them, or that guy thought they were true. You don't know, right? So fuck off. Your idea of God isn't necessarily true. And if your idea of God isn't necessarily true, how dare you even attempt to tell us how we should think, how we should act, what we should say, what we should care about, what we should use reasoning, anything like that. Because everything you know is definitely built on a house of cards that you have a small chance of being correct for. Because even if your God's real, there's no 100% certainty, and not even 50% certainty that you're the one that's correct. Like, there just isn't. Because the amount of Christianity that come before you that got debunked by men, not God. Sure, you might not pick the right one. So, whatever.
Yeah, it's a 1 in 45,000 chance if it is one of the Christianities that existed there.
No, I know, but there's like back in the day, early Christians, there was the early Christians that didn't think that you should be Christian, you should be a Jew because Jesus was the king of the Jews. Then there's the Christians that were Gnostics that thought that it was all a riddle, right? Or there's the Christians that thought that Jesus wasn't the Son of God. He was an avatar of Adam's third son, Seth. Or like, there was the Christians that thought that there was 3 gods and Jesus was the second God. He was the maintainer God. Because the first God, the maintainer, was bad at maintaining. Like, because he was a creator God. You know what I mean? Like, there was a form of Christianity that thought there was a God for every day of the year. There's so many different versions of Christianity you've never even thought of that were argued out of existence by men and not by God. So go fuck yourself. You don't know either. You just pretend to, and you pretend to with smug certainty, and you're a piece of shit.
That if God exists and God raised Jesus from the dead, Christianity is true, period. And
no. Because Jesus never said he was a Christian. Jesus said he was a Jew. So it doesn't mean that you're a Christian. It means you should be a Jew. Because Jesus never said to form a new religion. Paul did when he said the Gentiles shouldn't be circumcised. That's the whole point of the book of Acts. Is that Paul goes against the disciples. And people follow Paul. Not the men that followed around and intimately heard everything Jesus said if he existed and they existed. If Jesus and his disciples were real, we should believe everything they say more than Paul. But most of the New Testament follows Paul, not Jesus. And Paul directly goes against things Jesus says. Jesus tells you to be a Jew. Paul says to be a Christian. When you're a Christian, you go against Jesus.
that's true whether the Bible is without error or we're interpreting it wrongly or God ever commanded these things. Now, I'm happy to say that I think Moses and Joshua were at the command of God, and I still don't think you can demonstrate that the Christian God does not exist. But the point is a simple one. If you think you can demonstrate that the Christian God does not exist because certain biblical material makes him look immoral, then you're doing it wrong.
No, you're doing it wrong. Because if we can point out that you're all-loving, all-just God did lots of things that weren't all-loving and all-just, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's what it means. It means that you have no idea, and you've made a fictitious character up in your head that can just justify everything because he's God. Right? The Bible, at those times, doesn't say that God's all-loving and all-just. He says he's a capricious, jealous God. That's what God says. But you forget about that and say he's all-loving and all-just. But the two cannot be. And logical inconsistencies like that do show that you're full of shit. Because you are.
It's explicitly written. But also think of, how many innocent people died in the flood.
God works in mysterious ways, it doesn't matter.
I forgot that, I'm sorry. I should never leave on my own
argument, isn't it? It's just God works in mysterious ways. It's the answer for people that don't have answers.
Yeah, it's the go-to immediately. Well, I don't know. I could never
You've
know.
argued me into a corner. Well, God works in mysterious ways.
Get out of corner free card, though.
Yeah.
Number 4, referring to God as she.
This should be interesting.
This is a big one. Atheists in pop culture thought this was funny back in the 1990s.
Feminists in the 1960s thought it was right and proper to say that she, because God is the mother goddess. God created everything, birthed it out of it. God even says that he births, that he cradles and suckles upon, lets the children of Israel and Judah suckle upon his teat. So they take things like that to mean there's a woman because of Mother Earth, because it was a feminist idea.
Making this the epitome of atheist boomer moves.
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. It's a boomer move. Colin.
The guy who's probably
I
older than
suppose
you.
technically he's correct, because it was the feminists in the 60s that really popularised that shit, and they were boomers. He's right, but he doesn't understand why he's right.
Yeah, he's calling you the boomer without realising he's calling them the boomer.
Well, no, because he understands us better than we do. People have a grandiose ideal of themselves.
See, I wonder how he would react to someone who's an atheist calling God like them, they. And it's like, what's an unknowable being? I don't know their
we
gender.
couldn't possibly gender God.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've watched a bit of this video. He kind of agrees with you.
Here's the thing. The reason this is supposed to be funny is because it plays on the notion that Christians are so incredibly patriarchal that we would be offended at the very notion of a feminine divine.
Oh, so you're not? So you're not offended? So you're not bringing up in a video into things that atheists should shut up about because it really annoys you?
I wanted to say that.
Sorry, I'm not giving you a lot of opportunity to speak, but this video, I hate this video. I hate it so much. Not even fucking Ken Ham makes me this angry.
I have one thing to say on the issue, and that is, there's more than one reason that people will say something. They can have more than one reason, and multiple people will have different reasons. Not everyone's going to go, it's because you're a patriarchal society. Some people are going to do, like you say, Mother Nature. It was birth, suckle on the teat. And some people are going to go, oh, it'll piss you off.
In reality, we just think of God the way we do because of Scripture. Men and women both reflect the nature of God. They were made in the image of God. And as a result of this, there are certain...
We were made in the image of gods. No, the Bible doesn't say we're made in the image of God. God says... Oh my God, what does he say? You have been made in our image. Our. He's speaking about more than one.
Yeah, at least two.
And it's not the goddess Dara. She's not in Judges at all.
Things that we can learn about God from both masculinity and femininity.
No, there isn't. If God is neither gender, then he encompasses neither. And God teaches us nothing personally about either of the genders.
Or masculinity, femininity.
God's very masculine.
Yeah, but teaching us?
Yeah, his whole teaching is women are a piece of shit. Keep them in a cupboard when they're on the period. They're unholy. They're unclean. All their struggles of birth and periodship all become because they made you fall from godhood. So keep them away. They are unclean and dirty. Here's 20,000 rituals to fucking make them clean so they can approach temple because God doesn't want to see their dirtiness in his sight. Like,
Thanks, Eve.
God's very explicit about how shit women are.
Yeah. I just don't let them talk. If they do, just... if they do it again, stone them.
Well, no, it's not like... I'm on about what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't just say stone women.
For talking, sorry.
The Bible says they're unclean. And you must purify them regularly.
Yeah, I'm more about the talking thing, but I think it's in Leviticus where women aren't permitted to speak unless spoken to. And it has to be a question.
It's in church. Women are supposed to keep down in church.
Further, God is not biologically male and doesn't have a physical body. He has no body.
He doesn't have a physical body. He doesn't. He's not physical. He's metaphysical. I know there's various bits of the Bible where like God appears as a person and he talks to them as a person, like when he talks to Moses, when he talks to Adam, or he talks to Noah, or he talks to Abraham. He wrestles with Jacob. Wrestles because he doesn't have a physical body. It's an incorporeal body that is majesty. Lets him appear to be corporeal, apparently.
All powerful. I can be both at once. I have the power.
Biological sex because he has no biology.
I mean, he does. God is definitely a man. Because, like, in Judges, he talks about the old ways of being praised, and that is temples that are filled with matching and marriage statues of both Yahweh and Ashtoreth. And he says, I'm not to be treated this way anymore, and it's the way that brings him down to fuck off the women. Like, we can look at Canaanite religion, and it says it very plainly, because it's very similar to early Jewish religion. It's almost like the Samaritans, which were the northern kingdom in Israel, did that, and were very powerful. And then the polemics against that sort of thinking didn't come until after they fell. It's almost like if you kind of know when things were written, you can tell why they were written. Like the fact that we know for a fact that a lot of the Deuteronomistic law code was actually written in there because Judah was made a vassal state of Assyria in the 7th century BCE, and they rewrote great swathes of the Bible. It's almost like you're definitely believing in a bunch of shit. The fact your God keeps on going, hey, I've got a new name.
And I've changed my mind about a few things. Here's all the new laws that need to be added in, and I'm not going to get rid of the old laws either, so follow all of them.
Just because you've got a new idea of God doesn't mean that's what it is. You've got a new idea of God. And the further out you are, the less of an accurate idea you can have of the thing, especially when you're making it up as you go. It's not like we're talking about the laws of physics. We're talking about a thing that is supposed to have a personality and a mind that is absolute. And what it means to be absolute is that it's unchanging and unwavering, so it never should change. Always seems to change, though, doesn't it?
When we look at all of Scripture, the most all-encompassing way of thinking about God that He gives us is
that He is not, God is not gendered, but it is the information that He gives us. Not gendered. He.
That'd be nice to clip together.
To think of Him as Father. Is God a man or a woman? God is Father. So it's not so much that it offends him.
Male parental figure.
It's almost like the head of all the pantheons were male, because that was the idea of the time.
It's just that some atheists really miss the point of what we're saying.
It sounds like some Christians really missed the point of what we're saying.
Yes.
And I know personally, that he gets what we're saying. He asserted it as such, with sass, so it's definitely true.
He knows your argument better than you do.
Yeah, it's not an aggrandized view of one's knowledge.
No. You're not the arbiter of all knowledge.
Yeah. No, he's the arbiter of atheist knowledge. He knows all of our arguments better than we do.
Yeah.
That's why he debunks them so thoroughly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't.
It's why he's collected his
I had
Nobel
a hard time
Prize.
saying that out. I felt like I got cancer.
Yeah. It's why he's got his Nobel Prize for proving the Big Bang did not happen at all in the slightest. And God did just magic his Earth.
Yeah, we know this for scientific fact. We know it for truth.